Yes, it's become very predictable now. So, now that the documentary series is out and we are seeing the same kind of backlash being ginned up, my response to it is, we've already been there. What else can you possibly say that hasn't been said? But I think there's something much more central happening, which is that the history of Black Americans is so inconvenient to the narrative of America that there are, powerful interests that haven't ever wanted us to grapple truthfully. That's why we have Governor DeSantis banning AP African American Studies in Florida. That's why we have all these so-called anti-critical race theory laws that are trying to make it more difficult to teach about racism and to teach about what Black Americans have experienced. Because if you acknowledge that, then you have to acknowledge that we were founded on these great ideals, but we have not lived up to them. So to me, the backlash is a sign of the impact. The backlash is a sign, of who doesn't want us to grapple honestly with our history.
That was the 1619 Project's Nikole Hannah-Jones weighing in on Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' move to ban AP African American Studies in the state. Batya, what's your reaction to those comments?
So it's so interesting because everything she accused DeSantis of trying to erase is exactly his position. And what I mean by that is, she's saying Black history is American history. That was exactly what Governor DeSantis said in saying he didn't approve of this AP class. He said, because first of all, it's already mandated by Florida state law that regular history classes must include the teaching of racism and the teaching of slavery, right? So from his point of view, he's making the same case that she claims to be making against him. What he's banning is not, Black history. He's not banning the teaching of racism. He's banning woke versions of that do not reflect how most Black Americans see themselves and their history and come from a very specific academic point of view in which Black history is taught, with the inclusion of, for example, queer Black voices, in which reparations are taught as from only one point of view, erasing the very wonderful, luminous Black voices that are against reparations. Thomas Sowell, Glenn Lowry, for example. These are the things that were included in the AP's revision. So in the revision, they took out the queer Black voices section and they included a section on Black conservatives as well. So it's just, it's so funny to me that she's criticizing him for saying, that the things that she is saying should be said that have been erased are actually the very things that Ron DeSantis was trying to implement in his revision of that AP class.
Right. I mean, the very thing that Ron DeSantis and others wanted to keep out of the instruction was a Nikole Hannah-Jones sort of philosophy. The 1619 Project, which she spearheaded, has been criticized. I've criticized it, but mainstream historians have criticized it. There were oversights and mistakes made in it. It didn't. Her assertion, or the project's assertion, that the preservation of slavery was one of the major causes of the American Revolutionary War. One of the main reasons the colonists wanted to rebel was to preserve slavery is just not accurate, is not historically accurate. The fact checkers who fact check the project called out errors, and they were ignored. Fact checkers for the project have come out and said, we had concerns about this, we were not listened to. So I think there's a lot you can criticize Nikole Hannah-Jones for. I think there's a lot, and to the extent that her philosophy extends into what we're talking about here. I will, all of that aside, so the ban is interesting language, right? Because what DeSantis said was that he wanted the AP to change review the curriculum, make changes. They did that, and now it's being rolled out. I don't feel very positively about the governor of the state being the person who gets to say exactly what the curriculum should necessarily be. Up to me, I would have just let if a school wants to use this curriculum, use it. If they don't want to use it, don't use it. Like you said, a lot of schools, I would presume most schools, frankly, probably do a good job. If they're doing a good job at all of teaching history, they're teaching about the Civil War and about segregation. I mean, the Civil War is a major, and slavery is a massive component of American high school instruction in American history. There's Black History Month, which is talked about in many, if not most, schools. So I think I reject the notion that the reality of racism in this country is not being acknowledged. It should be acknowledged. It absolutely is accurate that what she said in that interview, that America's founding ideals were not lived up to for Black Americans for a very long time. That is a component of history instruction, and it is right to be a component of history instruction. You don't need anything new or different to say that is already being taught. If there are schools where it's not being taught, it should be. It's wrong to have that be an oversight. I just don't think it's accurate to say that that significantly that like a lot of schools are not educating students about the horrors of slavery or the reality of the Civil War. That's not taking place. Now, again, I would say schools use whatever curriculum you want. I would leave these choices to parents more so. If a parent wants to enroll their kid in this school or have them take this course, that's fine. They prefer a different one, that's fine too, rather than have like the governor of the state say, okay, everyone has to learn exactly these things and study exactly this list of people. That seems limiting to me. That wouldn't be my preferred approach. And I think it risks giving the appearance of some hypocrisy on freedom of speech or diversity of thought. Categories of thinking.
Well, on the other hand, though, Robby, somebody has to decide what public school kids are going to be taught. And absent a robust point of view from an executive, that often gets left to individual teachers, many of whom, not most, but many of whom do come out of this kind of much more woke point of view, which you learn if you get a graduate degree. So I think that does not rub me the wrong way in the same way that it does you. Someone has to make that decision. If Governor DeSantis feels strongly about it, I think there's a way of seeing this, that he's standing up for working class kids who don't get the choice to go to private schools, who are stuck with whatever's being taught in the public schools. And for him to say, this is going to be an issue that I feel strongly about, I think that's very appropriate, so that it doesn't get
universal
left
school
to
choice
activist teachers.
Would be my answer. I would let working class kids go to whatever. I don't think you should have to go to the school that you happen to reside in, the area that your zip code is like your education. Destiny makes absolutely no sense. Whatever amount of money the state or the municipality is spending on you, the per pupil spending, I would just give that to the parents and say, arrange whatever education for your kid you want. If that's the public school education, if you're really passionate about public education because you're a woke liberal and you like the curriculum there, good, go to that one. If you want to go to a private school, fine by me. You want to go to a Catholic school, that's how I was educated. I thought it was great. You can do that. If you want to go to an artsy school, that's fine. If you want to be homeschooled or you want to have some combination thereof where it's a community type thing, you and your neighbors are educated some days by a parent in the school group, that's fine. And then some days you go, like whatever I think parents will make these choices better than vast, clumsy bureaucracies or political figures or whoever. I would devolve more choice to the parents themselves to figure this out. And the money right now being invested in the public education system, it should just go to them.
I'm sure Florida Governor Ron DeSantis agrees with you and that's coming down the pike.
I hope so.
I will just make one more point, which is that Nikole Hannah-Jones engaged in a classic Mott-Bailey fallacy. I don't know if you noticed that, but the Mott-Bailey fallacy is when you act like you're defending a position that's very easy to defend in the name of defending a position that's very hard to defend. There was a slippage there where she said he's banning Black history and banning critical race theory, and both of these things are erasing Black Americans. And in so doing, what she revealed is that move that they do often on the progressive left where they say there's no critical race theory in schools. And if you point out that there is, they say, well, nobody's defending that, but they are, because he did ban critical race theory because it does have a very radical activist point of view on race and on history. But then, because they don't want to defend critical race theory, they then accuse him of banning just regular history, which of course he did not do. He banned, or he, as you pointed out, Robby, he asked for a revision to an AP course called African American Studies, which is what goes way beyond just history, which is mandated in schools already, and brings, in that version anyway, brought a lot of critical critical race theory to the table.
Right. Right, which was not, it was not a history class, because I agree with the idea that African American history is American history, and the contributions of African Americans to our culture and our history should be taught and should be celebrated, and we should absolutely discuss ways to make it even more enriching and more interesting, and you know, it doesn't have to always be taught the same way. But you know, these massive wars over exactly what, you know, everyone is going to learn in the public education system. People are just going to get really burned out from having this, I think, one-size-fits-all approach. But we'll have to see. That does it for us for today. Tomorrow on Rising, Brianna Joy Gray will be back with me at the desk. It's been wonderful to see you, Batya. Have a great week, as always.
You too. I'll be watching tomorrow.
Thank you. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any of our content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're available anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. And I will see you back here tomorrow. It's going to be an exciting show. Take care.